Hello, I'm Dr. Q. Welcome to my channel. This is the 14th class of Principles of Economics. In this video, I continue covering firm theory and focus on the long-run production costs. We learned that in the long run, businesses have long enough time to make all desirable adjustments on economic resources to change the production level, including changing production capacity or firm size. Therefore, all economic resources are variable and can be adjusted proportionately. Therefore, law of diminishing returns does not apply to the production in the long run. Business can expand by building a larger plant or revert to a smaller size. New firms may launch. Existing firm may exit. Some companies make all types of products or services and therefore occupy several industries and may become conglomerates, while some companies may make strategic retreat and be more focused on producing one type of product or service. In this part, so many questions are asked and answered. Why is there normally only one utility company within a metropolitan area? Why aren't there many companies making aircraft? Why are there so many pizza restaurants in the town? Let's think about the development of a business, using average total cost for illustration. So vertical axis represents average costs in monetary value, while horizontal axis is the quantity of output, or total product number. Let's think about a business, Bojangles. Bojangles is a regional chain of fast food restaurants, specializing in Cajun seasoned fried chicken and buttermilk biscuits. Bojangles primarily serves the southeastern United States. The company was founded in Charlotte, North Carolina in 1977. Then the horizontal axis can represent the amount of Cajun filet biscuit, or number of chicken thighs, or quantity of any products it produces, while the vertical axis represents, at the corresponding number of biscuits produced, what is the average cost, or cost of each biscuit in monetary value. Bojangles start with a small store, served food in a quick service environment without seating. It is small in the sense that in order to keep the average total cost or per unit cost reasonably low, there is a limited amount of output, such as the quantity of biscuits or fried chicken can be produced. When a business is confined in its production capacity in that particular short run, if it produces too few or too many, the average cost will be too high, which is not profitable. So during the short run, when Bojangles just started a business, it can adjust its output in a small range based upon the demand. But with this fixed production capacity, with one store, with the number of workers it can fit in the space, there is just so much Bojangles can do. It cannot change its output level dramatically. Then Bojangles finally had enough time to step out of the first short run and be able to expand the production capacity by launching the first franchise restaurant in the following year. With another store operation, Bojangles stepped from one production capacity to a new production capacity, and it would be stuck in this new production capacity for a while, which is its new short run. At this new production capacity or short run, there is also a limited output range to keep the average total cost low. If it produces too few or too many, the per unit cost will be high. There are two short-run average total cost curves on the axis there. It does not mean that Bojangles have two production capacities at the same time. The two average total cost curves represent a different short-run production capacity or firm size. It means the business moved from one short run to another, moved from one production size to another. For the convenience of comparison, the two of them are shown on the same axis there. In the following years, company went through enormous expansion. It took adventures of exploring some countries in South America or even China. Some are successful and some are not. Sometimes it strategically decreased the size of the business in order to find the optimal output level that minimizes the average total cost. It's safe to say that 43 years is long enough for the fast food chain store to adjust production capacity many times. Each firm size defines a short run. To rephrase that, the long run is composed of multiple short runs. At each short run of production capacity, there is an output that minimizes the average cost. For example, at the production capacity of 1981 at output 18, it minimizes its average cost. On the other hand, at output of 18, if the business is at a different production size, such as on green line 1980 or the black line 1990, the average costs are higher. That means if the business wants to produce at output 18, it better try to resize the production capacity onto the purple average cost curve. In the long run, business can jump from size to size. At each firm size, it produces at the output that minimizes the average cost. So if we have every short-run cost curve that specifies each output level that minimizes average cost, and draw a smooth line linking all the minimum points, this is what we get. We call the red bold curve long-run average total cost curve. LR is long run. ATC is average total cost curve. This name can be confusing. Because we hear long-run average cost, we think about something like average all the costs in the long run. It is not. Instead, it means the minimized average cost the firm can achieve at each output level in the long run. It has a better, different name called firm's planning curve. This is because it helps the firm decide the production size to produce the desired output at the least possible cost. Please note that the long-run average total cost curve or planning curve tells us at each output level the minimized average cost should be. It does not mean the business definitely operates on the point, because business may be stuck in a different production capacity during the short run. But the business should adjust its size to the desirable capacity to produce the desired output with the least cost if time permits. From the long-run average cost or planning curve, we can easily say that among all production sizes, at output of 21, the average cost is minimized not only in the short run but in the long run, and is achieved at production size of this black curve average cost of year 1990 or 2020. Before this output, the long-run average cost curve is downward sloping. As the business expands, increase the production capacity or firm size, the average cost declines. This area is called economies of scale. But why is there economies of scale? Or why does increase in plant size lead to lower average costs or production? Please note that we assume the resource prices are constant. Input price does not increase or decrease as plant size change. So resource price is not a source of economies of scale. One factor contributing to the economies of scale is labor specialization. Remember in Charlie's chocolate factory example? If one worker is hired, he or she has to run from task to task, manage to finish all production processes. There will be time wasted in the task transition. As more labor is hired, workers can be specialized in one task, jobs can be divided. Proficiency is gained and productivity increases while time is saved if more labor is hired proportionately to the increased size of a firm. The same is true to managerial specialization. If a manager has to be hired, whose salary hypothetically is $60,000, and he or she is able to handle 20 workers, but the small size firm only has 10 workers, then the manager's skills are underused. Per unit cost will be lower if more workers are hired with a bigger size firm. The same rationale applies to the capital efficiency. Small business cannot afford the most efficient capital. For example, Versum All Steel Press Corporation introduced a stamping machine the size of a building and weighing thousands of tons. The machine cost $30 million, can produce an auto part in 5 minutes that used to take 8 hours, which increases the efficiency by almost 100 times. Assuming the machine produces non-stop, it can produce about 100,000 auto parts per year. Then the per unit cost of the machine for the first year's production is $300, which is much lower than otherwise. But to justify the use of the machine, the auto manufacturer has to be a larger producer and financially capable so that the fixed costs of the machine are spread over a large output. This happened in the 1990s. Other efficiency can be gained in advertisement costs, research and development costs. While a big amount of money is spent, the more products produced as firm size increases, the lower the per unit cost is. When business enjoys economies of scale, an increase in input will lead to a more than proportionate increase in output. For example, a 10% increase in all economic resources results in a 15 or 20% increase in output. That's why we see some very successful startup firms when they first launched, like Microsoft, Google, Starbucks, or Facebook. It seems like they became successful and big overnight. But the economies of scale do not last forever. If business keep expanding, it will arrive the upward sloping part of a long-run average cost curve. As firm size or production capacity increases, the per unit cost increases. This is called diseconomies of scale. When business is small, the owner or manager knows about every single production procedure, understand the operation, and be able to make every business decision. Workers and managers know one another in person. It's easier to improve employee morale if it's needed. But as the business gets too big, authority demands several layers of managers to handle all perspectives of the business. The expansion of management hierarchy may result in miscommunication and a challenge in cooperation. And it's not cheap to hire so many managers. Besides, workers never get to interact with top leaders, and they may feel alienated from the employers. On top of that, in an extraordinarily large business, chances to shirk from work, take a long lunch break, chit-chat in tea room, play on Facebook or Instagram during working hours are greater. Effective supervision is challenging and may bring in more management and therefore costs. When business is unfortunately in diseconomies of scale, an increase in input, say 10%, leads to a less than proportionate increase in the output, like 5% or 1%. The business may consider sizing down or spinning off some of the branches. You can see the same thing on the table. Those are the data driving the average cost curves we just had. There are different production capacities in different short runs. At each short run average cost curve, there is one output that minimizes the average cost, which is highlighted by the red number. We can do the same thing for an unlimited number of plant sizes, but we have 9 representative ones here. This minimizes the average costs at different output level in different time periods compose the long-run average total cost. And there is a minimized average total cost across different production capacity in the long run, which is 35, is highlighted by the red number in mint background. We can see the corresponding output level is 21, and it's realized with the production capacity of this one. So why is this 21 important? It tells us that for an industry like chocolate production or vehicle production, with the current technology, what's the most proper firm size in perspective of the average costs? We are not saying that every firm within the industry should produce an output of 21, because if in the short run a firm has a production capacity or firm size of this purple line, average total cost curve of 1981, and cannot adjust the size anytime soon, if it produces at 21, then the average cost will be quite high. Instead, the business is supposed to consider producing at an output that minimizes its per unit cost, which is obviously not 21. This 21 tells the business within the industry that if you'd like to compete with the rivals and survive, the production size or capacity of the black line, average total cost of 1990 or 2020, is supposed to be the goal for the firm to aim at. It might be okay for a firm to be at different firm size for the time being, but if the firm manages to be at the most desirable size and produce at 21, it will bear the least per unit cost and have a better chance to succeed. This upper level that minimizes firm's average cost does not only in the short run, but also in the long run across all possible firm sizes is called minimum efficient scale, or MES. Efficient in the sense that minimizing the average cost. Scale is size. So efficient scale is the firm size that minimizes per unit cost. But what's the meaning of the first word, minimum? Because as opposed to have one single firm size to minimize the average cost, some industries may contain firms in very different sizes that are equally successful, because the nature of the industries result in constant returns to scale. The business produced at output of 11 shares the same minimum average cost with business producing at output of 22 or 24. If firm size changes, the minimum average cost does not change. The firm enjoys constant returns to scale. An increase in input, like 10%, leads to an exact the same increase in output, 10%. In this type of industries, firms producing the same product or service in vastly different sizes coexist and are successful. This is only true for a certain type of industries, like restaurant industry. We see small family-run restaurants as well as the chain stores. So we have a range of firm sizes that are equally efficient between 11 and 25. But which is the minimum efficient scale? Minimum here is the smallest size that minimizes the average cost, that is 11. In this context, output 11 is the minimum efficient scale, not the 25. 25 would be the biggest or maximum size that is efficient. Why is minimum efficient scale important? Because it defines how many firms at most can survive in this industry, which is the first important component of industry structure. What's the meaning of industry structure? The short answer is how many firms can survive in the industry and how do the firms interact with one another. Do they compete or collude? How many firms can survive, the small n, is decided by how big the market size is, or how many units of the product or service the consumer wants, the BQ, and how many units each firm can produce, the minimum efficient scale or small q. The number of firms an industry can accommodate at most is the ratio of the quantity demanded by the market and the minimum efficient scale produced by each firm. For example, if the consumers in the city need 20,000 megawatts of electricity at the prevailing rate, and a coal-fired power plant can easily produce 21,000 megawatts with an established facility, then the market only needs one firm to satisfy the consumers. This is called a natural monopoly. It is a monopolist because of the nature of the production as opposed to some strategy or agenda of deterring rival companies. If another power plant is introduced, the two of them split the 20,000 megawatts of electricity production. Each produces at 10,000 megawatts. The corresponding average cost will be higher than the one when only one power plant produces. Other example is like for a small airport in relatively rural area, there probably is only one airline serving the flights originating and terminating at the airport. As the passengers' volume is small and the services from one airline is adequate. On the other hand, if the average cost is minimized when a firm produces at output level of 5, while the market demands a quantity of 20,000 units, then the industry needs about 4,000 similar firms to produce enough amount for the market, and there probably are some degree of competition among the firms. Now, please note that market is dynamic. It changes all the time. The market size declines dramatically for the airline industry during the COVID-19 pandemic. We see a lot of airlines shut down or even exit the routes with low demand. The restructure of the airline industry is foreseeable after the pandemic. And for an industry with constant returns to scale, the minimum efficient scale tells us how many firms the industry can accommodate at most, not at least, but at most. If the consumers in the market want 20,000 units in total, the smallest output each firm can produce to minimize average cost is 11. Then the market can accommodate about 1,818 firms at most. "800 firms at least. And we're curious about how many firms can survive at most. So 11, the minimum efficient scale, matters. Let's do some practice. Please pause and come back. Alright, this question provides information of different plant sizes a firm may end up at in the short run, and asks what is the long-run average cost of producing 20 units of output. Please note that in the long run, business has long enough time to adjust the plant size to minimize cost. If 20 units is the desirable output for a certain reason, the firm needs to adjust the plant size to size 2, and the average cost is 36, smaller than 45 in size 1, or 64 in size 3. The second one. Pause and come back. Alright, with the same data, the question asks us at what output is the long-run average cost at its minimum. So we're not stuck in one firm size. We can find the smallest average cost across the table. and is 35. The corresponding output is 21. Is achieved under size 2. Next one, pause and come back. Alright, the question describes that economies of scale, the part has declining average cost, lasts quite a while, and extend beyond the market size, and takes a while for the diseconomies to appear. Then the minimum efficient scale occurs at a high level of output. It corresponds to the coal-fired power plant example. There should be a natural monopoly. Alright, that's all I have for this video. In next lecture, I'll start to cover a market structure, perfect or pure computation in the short run. Thank you for watching. Please like and save the video and subscribe my channel for more lectures in economics.